I moved to Pine Brush Hollow, thinking I was finally settling into the quiet life. After 15 years working construction jobs across the state and saving every dollar, I bought a modest log cabin on the edge of town, a cabin my uncle had started building but never finished. I spent 2 years restoring it myself. Every beam, every nail, I knew by heart. The cabin sat on 3 acres of wooded land, surrounded by tall pines and open sky. No HOA fees, no weird rules, just peace. That peace lasted exactly 3 weeks. Her name was Darlene Kingsley. Blonde bob, pressed slacks, lipstick that looked like it could cut glass. She came walking up my gravel driveway one afternoon like she owned the road. I was out front sanding the porch railing when she stopped, eyed the cabin like it had personally offended her, and said, "This structure is out of compliance with neighborhood standards." I blinked. "Ma'am, this isn't part of a neighborhood. I'm not in an HOA." She smiled like a vulture in pearls. "Oh, but you are now. The Hollywood Homeowners Alliance was formed earlier this year. All properties in the surrounding 3-mile area are under review." I nearly dropped my sander. I never agreed to any HOA. This is private land. She held up a clipboard with a bunch of paperwork, her fingernail tapping aggressively against the top page. "We've already sent notices. Your rustic decor and that hideous teal paint violate multiple standards. It lowers the tone of the entire community." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "Lady, the closest neighbor is a quarter-mile down the road, and he's got a gnome army in his yard. You telling me a little paint is the issue?" Her smile vanished. "Don't get smart. We'll be following up." She left tire tracks in my driveway and a bad taste in my mouth. I figured she'd move on. People like her usually need attention more than results. But then the letters started arriving, first in the mailbox, then taped to my front door. Violation of Code 14B. Unauthorized fencing. Failure to conform to visual aesthetic requirements. One of them even threatened fines. Real fines. But the kicker: there was no return address. No actual contact information for the so-called HOA. That's when I started asking around. Nobody had heard of the Hollywood Homeowners Alliance. Not the county, not the town clerk, not even the sheriff. But Darlene kept showing up, clipboard in hand, yelling at my dog for barking, snapping photos of my truck, and leaving warnings like she was running her own government. Then came the police. 2 squad cars pulled into my drive on a rainy Thursday morning. I was inside working on some cabinetry when I saw the lights through the kitchen window. One officer, a younger guy, looked sheepish. The other just looked tired. "Sir, we got a complaint about unauthorized construction," the younger one said. I gestured at the completely unchanged front yard. "From who I haven't changed a thing out here in weeks. We received an anonymous report. Let me guess. Tall woman, clipboard, lipstick the color of fire truck paint." They exchanged glances. I handed over my property deed, the surveyor map, and a thick stack of county approvals. The older officer gave it all a quick look and sighed. "This all checks out. Sorry to bother you." After they left, I sat on my porch for an hour, watching the rain hit the trees, wondering how in hell one woman could cause this much grief. And that's when my neighbor Casey dropped by, holding his phone like it was on fire. "Dude," he said, You need to see what she just posted. Darlene had uploaded a video to a Facebook group none of us knew existed, Pine Brush Preservation Society. In it, she stood in front of my fence, talking into the camera like a news anchor. "We are dealing with a dangerous element," she said. "This individual is hostile, non-compliant, and damaging our community. We must take action." The comments were full of praise, all from names I'd never seen before. And when I clicked through the profiles, most of them weren't even real people. Stock photos, blank timelines, fake names like John Patriot and Libby Liberty. It wasn't an HOA. It was a front. Darlene had made the whole damn thing up. I was furious, but not stupid. I called my buddy Nate, a local IT guy with a taste for internet rabbit holes. "Find out who she is." I said, "I want everything: real name, history, past addresses. I've got a feeling she's done this before." What Nate found made my blood run cold. Darlene Kingsley wasn't her real name. Her actual name was Deborah Knight, and she'd been run out of 3 other towns over the last decade. Always the same pattern she'd move in: create a fake HOA or community alliance, bully homeowners into selling, then flip the properties to her partner, a guy named Clay Madden, a developer. She made money creating chaos, and she'd targeted me because my land was a gold mine. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I let her keep pushing. A week later, she showed up with a representative from the HOA legal department. A greasy-looking man in a suit that didn't quite fit, and a fake badge clipped to his belt. "We're issuing a final notice," he said, trying to sound official. "Failure to comply will result in legal action and possible property seizure." I smiled. "You two want coffee? I just made a fresh pot." Darlene scoffed. "You think this is a joke?" "No," I said, stepping back into the house. "I think this is entrapment." I returned with a folder full of documents, my property rights, Nate's report, and a flash drive with a dozen screenshots of Darlene's aliases, old schemes, and real estate transactions linked to Clay Madden. "You've got 30 seconds to get off my land," I said, "or I call the sheriff and the local news at the same time." She tried to bluster, but her hands were shaking. By the time the real sheriff arrived, Darlene and her fake lawyer were already speeding down the road. I handed everything over: documents, videos, witness statements. Sheriff read through it all and just shook his head. "We've been looking for this woman. She's on a list." 2 weeks later, Deborah Knight, aka Darlene, was arrested at a motel outside Reno. Fraud, impersonation, conspiracy to commit real estate theft, and Clay. He vanished. Left town the moment the news hit. I got a letter from the county apologizing for the confusion and thanking me for helping expose a serial con artist. But what meant more was the knock I got a few days later. It was Casey. And behind him were half a dozen neighbors I barely knew. They'd all come to thank me, bring pie, coffee, or just say hi. Turns out Darlene had been sniffing around their properties too. I wasn't the only target, just the first. We stood around my front yard for hours that day, swapping stories, shaking heads, laughing at the absurdity of it all. And as the sun set behind the trees, painting everything in gold and orange, I looked at my teal fence, the one that started it all. and finally exhaled. I wasn't just defending a cabin. I was protecting something bigger. My home, my land, and the truth. And if anyone ever tries to pull that kind of stunt again, they'll learn the hard way what happens when you mess with the wrong neighbor.